What if I told you that the most beautiful city in the American South is also the most haunted city in the entire United States? Not Salem, not New Orleans, not Gettysburg. Savannah, Georgia, a city so beautiful that when General William Sherman marched his army through it during the Civil War, he could not bring himself to burn it down. He burned everything else. Atlanta, gone. City after city, ash. But Savannah, he stopped at the edge of the city, looked at it, and sent President Lincoln a telegram. I beg to present you as a Christmas gift the city of Savannah. He gave it away rather than destroy it, because it was too beautiful to burn. But here is what Sherman did not know, or maybe he did know, and that is the real reason he did not burn it. Every single one of the 22 public squares in Savannah was built on top of a burial ground. Every square, every park, every beautiful moss-draped oak tree-lined plaza where tourists sit and take photographs and eat ice cream and feel like they are in the most charming place they have ever visited. Every single one of them is a cemetery that forgot it was a cemetery. Yellow fever epidemics killed thousands in this city. Bodies were buried so fast and in such numbers that records were not kept, names were not recorded. People were buried and the city was built right on top of them, and then forgot they were there. And the people beneath the ground did not forget. They have never forgotten. And they have made sure that Savannah has not forgotten either. Today we go inside the 3 places in Savannah, Georgia, where the dead are the loudest, the most present, the most impossible to ignore. Keep the lights on. This is Savannah, and Savannah never sleeps. Place number 1, 6 West Harris Street, Madison Square, Savannah. The SORREL Weed House, built in 1840. One of the finest examples of Greek Revival architecture in the entire American South. From the outside, it is breathtaking. Tall white columns, grand proportions, Spanish moss drifting lazily from the oak trees surrounding it. The kind of house you stop and photograph because it looks like something from a film, and it has been in films because it is that beautiful. But what happened inside this house is anything but beautiful. Francis SORREL built this house for his wife Matilda. She died here under circumstances that were never fully explained. Some historical accounts say she fell from the upper balcony. Others say she jumped. Either way, Matilda SORREL died in this house in circumstances that involved a level of personal suffering that left a mark on every room it touched. But Matilda is not the most active presence in this building. That distinction belongs to Molly, a young enslaved woman who worked in this house and who also died here under circumstances that are even less explained than Matilda's and even more painful. The SORREL Weed House today operates as a historic attraction. Ghost tours run through it every single night, and on those tours, things happen that the guides cannot explain, and the tour company stopped trying to explain a long time ago. Shadow figures move through the rooms while the tour is in progress, captured on camera, on video, by multiple independent groups of visitors on multiple separate occasions. Not orbs, not light reflections, not camera artifacts. Full shadow figures, moving with purpose, through rooms, through walls, with no light source to cast them. The carriage house behind the main building is the most active location on the entire property. This is where Molly's presence is most strongly felt. Visitors in the carriage house report sudden drops in temperature, so severe they can see their own breath in the middle of a Georgia summer. Equipment used by paranormal investigators fails in this space, with a regularity that investigators across multiple organizations have called unprecedented. Cameras turn off, audio recorders delete their files, EMF meters spike to their maximum reading, and then simply stop working. And then there are the sounds. Crying, not faint, not subtle, not something you might convince yourself was the wind. Crying, clear, human, female, coming from a space that has been empty for over 180 years. Molly has never left the SORREL wheat house because Molly never got to choose to leave. And until someone gives her the choice that was taken from her in life, she will stay in the carriage house, crying in the Georgia summer heat, seeing her own breath for the rest of forever. Place number 2330 Bonaventure Road, Bonaventure Cemetery. If you have ever seen a photograph of Savannah, Georgia, and thought, this city looks like something out of a Gothic novel, this cemetery is why. Bonaventure is not just a cemetery. It is one of the most visually stunning places in America. Ancient oak trees, draped in Spanish moss, so thick the sunlight barely reaches the ground. Elaborate Victorian-era marble statues rising up between the trees. Angels with broken wings. Children frozen in stone. Weeping figures leaning over the graves of people they could not save. It looks like a dream. The kind of dream that starts beautifully and then slowly becomes something else. The cemetery was established in 1846 on the grounds of a former plantation. Its most famous resident is the poet Conrad Aiken. But Aiken is not why people come here at night. They come for the statues. The Little Gracie statue. Little Gracie Watson was 6 years old when she died in 1889. Her father was the manager of the Pulaski House Hotel, and Gracie was beloved by every guest who ever stayed there. When she died of pneumonia, her parents commissioned a life-size marble statue to be placed at her grave. The statue is perfect, exactly her, down to the dress she wore, the way she stood, the expression on her face. People leave toys at her grave, pennies, flowers, small gifts, because she was 6 years old, and she should not be dead. And leaving her, something feels like the only right thing to do when you stand in front of her. But at night the statue does something that has been documented by enough independent witnesses that it can no longer be dismissed. At night, little Gracie cries, not metaphorically. The marble face of the statue produces moisture, specifically around the eyes. Tracks of moisture running down the marble cheeks, like tears. Not rain, not condensation. The moisture appears only on the face, only around the eyes, on nights when there has been no precipitation. No humidity explanation accounts for the specificity of where the moisture appears, only around the eyes, every time. And if you take something from her grave, if you take one of the toys, or one of the pennies, or one of the flowers left by other visitors, people who have done this report the same experience within 48 hours. Something in their home is not right. Objects moved, sounds in the night, the feeling of being watched, and it does not stop until whatever was taken is returned to the grave. Every single time. Gracie wants her things back. She is 6 years old. She is still 6 years old. She will always be 6 years old. And she does not like when people take her things. And place number 123 East Broughton Street. The Marshall House Hotel, the oldest operating hotel in the state of Georgia. Open since 1851, which means this hotel has been open and operating through the Civil War, through yellow fever epidemics, through influenza outbreaks, through every dark chapter Savannah has ever experienced, and it was present for all of them. Not as a witness, as a participant. During the Civil War, the Marshall House was converted into a hospital. Union soldiers occupied Savannah after Sherman's march, and the wounded were brought here to these rooms, these hallways, these floors. The surgeons worked on the same floors that hotel guests sleep on tonight. Amputations were performed, limbs removed, piled in the courtyard because there was nowhere else to put them. When the hotel was renovated in the 1990s, workers made a discovery beneath the floorboards of the upper floors. Human remains, not a few. A significant number of human bones buried beneath the floors of the rooms where guests had been sleeping for decades. Decades. People had been sleeping in those rooms for decades. And beneath them, beneath the floor, beneath the carpet, beneath the wood, were the people who had died in those rooms during the Civil War, and nobody had known. The bones were removed and properly interred, but the people those bones belonged to, they had already been there for 150 years. They were not going to leave just because their bones did. Today, the Marshall House Hotel is a beautiful, historic property on Broughton Street. Guests come for the history, for the atmosphere, for the beautiful Savannah location, and many of them get significantly more history than they paid for. The fourth floor is the most active, room 414 in particular. Guests in room 414 report waking in the night to find a Union soldier sitting in the chair beside the window. He is not transparent. He is not ghostly. He looks completely solid, completely real, like a man sitting in a chair until you turn on the light. And then he is not there, but the chair is still warm. Children staying at the hotel report seeing people in the hallways that their parents cannot see, pointing at corners, waving at empty doorways, talking to people who are not there, or who are there, just not for the parents. The water faucets turn on by themselves, in rooms that are occupied, in rooms that are empty, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, with no plumbing explanation offered by the hotel that has ever fully satisfied the engineers who investigated. The water just turns on because someone needs it. Someone who has been a patient in this building for 150 years and still wakes up in the night needing something that they can never fully get because they are no longer fully here, but they are not fully gone either. And that in-between place, that is the Marshall House Hotel at 3 in the morning when the water turns on and the chair is warm and your child is waving at an empty doorway and smiling. 3 places. A house on Madison Square where 2 women died under circumstances that were never fully explained and where one of them is still crying in the carriage house 180 years later. A cemetery so beautiful it looks like a dream where a 6-year-old girl made of marble cries real tears at night and never forgives anyone who takes her things. And a hotel on Broughton Street where human bones were found beneath the floorboards of the rooms where guests slept for decades without knowing, and where a Union soldier still sits in the chair beside the window of room 414 until someone turns on the light. Savannah, Georgia. The city William Sherman could not bring himself to burn. The city built on top of its own dead. The city where every square is a cemetery, and every cemetery is still occupied, and every occupant has opinions about the living walking above them, and is not shy about expressing those opinions in the middle of the night. There is a reason Savannah is called the most haunted city in America. Not the most haunted in one category, not the most haunted on one street, the most haunted city, period, in the entire country. And now you know why. Drop a comment right now. Would you spend one night in room 414 of the Marshall House? Would you stand in front of Little Gracie's statue at midnight and take one of the pennies from her grave? Would you go into the sorrel weed carriage house alone and wait for the crying to start? Tell me, which one? One night, no phone, no lights, no way out. Which one? Subscribe right now because video 7 is coming, and it goes to a city that makes Savannah look like a pleasant afternoon in the park. The darkest video yet is still ahead. You have absolutely been warned.